Hello there folks, Mr. K here, the mediocre painter, and I've been painting minis for some 30 odd years, and I'm doing videos to get you into the wargaming hobby because I've made the mistakes so you don't have to. Now today I'm going to do an unboxing or an unveiling of Blitzbowl, which is this here. It is a gateway game, I suppose, is what a lot of people call it. It is a simplified version of Bloodbowl from Games Workshop. It's an exclusive to Barnes & Noble in the United States, sadly. So you can only get it in the US, you can't actually get it in the UK, which is a bit of a shame because this is a really good game for the money. It's absolutely super. Now, it comes with everything you need to actually play Blitzbowl. So basically, you get the box, it's about 45 bucks I think, you get a nice rule book, and you get two teams. You get our friends the Orcs, the Iron Crag Decimators, and you then have the Avalon Knights, and basically they're 6-man teams. A normal Blood Bowl I think is 12, so and correspondingly the board is a smaller size as well. And the rules are greatly simplified from Blood Bowl, and in a good way, I think. Anybody can really pick this up. Somebody who's quite young, 7 or 8 years old, would be able to pick this up and have a lot of fun. It's a great little game. So what else do we get in our box? We obviously, let's talk about the miniatures. We do get a series of miniatures. We get, obviously, our human beings, the Avalon Knights, and we get some linemen, a catcher, a thrower, and a blitzer. We also get the associated dice and some balls and a couple of tokens that you use to mark your progress during the game. The Orcs, we have a blitzer, some linemen, a thrower, and a black orc blocker. Now these miniatures are push to fit minis, and they are actually a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to actually their push fit nature. The human beings are really very good from a push fit perspective. They are a yellow plastic, and that yellow plastic is a little softer, and as a consequence of which they push fit together really well, and so you can actually push fit them and really play straight away with them. It's actually quite good, so you get them off the sprues and you can really get going. In fact, I would say of all the push fit minis I've done, and I've done pretty much everything from Shadespire plus a bunch of other stuff, they're probably the best collection of minis I've ever push fit together. Aside maybe the Godsworn Hunt from Shadespire is probably just as good. And so that's a really nice thing to see. Also, what I note here in terms of the instructions that they give you, here, that shows you how you push fit them together. I noticed there's actually no sort of age restriction stuff or whatever that you see in the UK with that little slip, and those age restrictions are, don't make any sense sometimes in terms of the age that they put on them in one box versus the other, even though you're doing exactly the same thing by cutting the stuff off a sprue. The Orcs, from push fit perspective, are so good. You are going to need to be getting the old super glue out, I'm afraid, because a couple of them, they just don't sit properly and bits fall off when you actually play the game, which is no fun. So you will have to get the old super glue out. They are a red plastic, a dark red plastic, and they are very hard, and that's the reason why they're difficult to push fit together. So even if you follow my video, which is up here, which gives you some tips on how you might go about push fitting, there's no way around it on these ones. I'm afraid you are going to be using some glue, which is a bit annoying really for what is a gateway game. But there you go. Sculpts wise, the humans, they're a bit meh. They're not absolutely brilliant, which is a shame really, because the orcs are fantastic. Whoever sculpted the orcs really had a ball of a time, because they are absolutely superb. Especially the Black Orc Blocker and the Blitzer. They really are a little bit special. I'm very much looking forward to painting them if I ever actually get around to finding the time to do it. So we get a nice tasty board as well as a couple of cards in the game to represent your dugout, and it sort of describes, the way that do it the right way around. It describes the way the game actually works. So effectively you get 3 actions per turn. An action might be run, mark, or throw, and you then roll dice, similar to the way you do in Bloodbowl, but it's a lot more simplified. So if we have a look at the cards that are used to represent the individuals in this game, you can see they've just basically simplified it down into 3 things, where basically you have a move, and that's the number of squares you can move, the chances of a successful throw being a 4+, and your armor being a 4+, in terms of effectively a saving throw when you get blocked. So they've massively simplified it, and it makes it work really well and really quickly. You can play this game in a very short period of time, and that's really nice. The other nice thing as well, you've got these really lovely cards that represent each of your individuals in your team, and they're really nice quality. But also, they've given you cards for pretty much all the other races in the Blood Bowl universe. We've got dwarves, we have elves, we have grots, and we got chaos, and we have Skaven. So it's really nice that they've done that. So if you can rustle up some Blood Bowl minis, maybe on eBay or whatever, or buy the box sets and then split it with your mates, because you only need 6, then that's really cool. You've got everything you need here to play all the races of Blood Bowl, and that's a really nice touch. I think the only thing that's really missing, is the undead, and maybe Nurgle's Rotters or whatever. So, but still, absolutely superb that they included all of that, and it does make me want to go and get these now, because they're actually, some of them are really cool models, especially the Troll Slayer from the Dwarves. He's just so good. I'm looking forward to getting that one day. The other thing that's part of this system when you play is a series of cards that eventually give you rewards as you're playing. So you basically play out a series of cards, and if you manage to do that action, then basically you pick up this card, and that gives you a certain number of points, which is listed here, which is what you're going to use to win the game, as well as score, of course. But on the other side, it gives you a bonus play, and this one's called Step Aside. And basically, place this card when one of your players is chosen as the target of a block. That target can immediately make a free sidestep, and the block is cancelled. So, it's a really nice element to the game. It adds a little bit more depth to it, and it also means that you get rewarded for bashing people in the face just as much as you do for getting a score into the end zone, which is, I think, what Blood Bowl is all about at the end of the day. So there's some other cards here as well, which they call end game challenges, and these basically come out when you're reaching the end game, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So it's kind of like it escalates the level when you get towards the end of the game, which is kind of a nice dynamic. And then also to introduce you to the game, they've got these drill cards here, and these drill cards basically walk you through certain scenarios, so you can learn how the game actually works, which I think is again very well thought through and a really, really good touch. Overall, I think this is probably the best box game that Games Workshop do. I really do think this is absolutely superb. one of the things that make it really nice is the teams are well balanced. I mean, Blood Bowl's been around for a very long time. I think I first played Blood Bowl in 89 maybe. So it's been around for a very, very long time. So it's had, the kinks kind of worked out of it in terms of balance. So unlike perhaps the Night Vault box and the Shadespire box, where perhaps the factions that you had in there, the warbands that you had in there, were a little unbalanced, particularly if you were just playing them straight. And so therefore, one team's winning much more than the other, which kind of can put you off. This is a lot better balance because humans and orcs in Blood Bowl have been around since the dawn of time practically, and there's a nice balance between these two teams. And certainly when you first play, probably the orcs are a little better because they're a bit more bashy, but once you learn how to do the throwing well and things like that, the human team does have a bit of an advantage. So it's a really nice balance to the teams. The humans do play differently to the orcs too, differently enough, whereas I think in the past in Blood Bowl they were very, very similar, but they're not here. They are actually, there's a different dynamic going on between the two, and that just makes the game more interesting because it means, you can play sometimes as the orcs, sometimes as the humans, and get a bit more going out of it. The rule book itself, isn't really a thick or an intimidating rule book. I mean, literally, the rules can be discerned in really largely 4 pages, to be perfectly honest. So it's really easy to get into and it's quite straightforward to pick up, and you can get playing straight away. I really do wish that Games Workshop sold this in the UK, and I really do wish they actually did 6-packs for the teams for Blitzbowl as well, so you didn't have to buy a full Blood Bowl team to kind of fill it out. I like Blood Bowl. I used to play Blood Bowl quite a bit when I was younger, but it is quite a complicated game these days, and this game really boils it down to its very essence. It's a lot of fun. You can play a game between 2 opponents inside about 30 or 40 minutes, even when you don't really know the rules. It's that simple, and it also balances out the teams a lot better playing on this smaller board. Even if you have the lowly grots, for example, who really are kind of used to always coming last in Blood Bowl leagues for obvious reasons, right? They don't have the best statistics. Here, their ability, to be small and shifty, where they can actually move past the opponent by being adjacent to them, actually really, really helps in this particular game. Plus, in this particular game, the grots can field 2 more members. They can actually have 8 on the pitch, not 6, and so that does give you a bit more of an advantage as well. So it actually means even though you can actually play the grots and actually win every now and then, which I think is really cool. It kind of means that they're no longer somewhat pointless. Just you would have them because of the cool models, or in Blood Bowl as well, there was a goblin who had dirty tricks, who can use a chainsaw, which was always fun to play as well. And you played them really for fun, you didn't really play them to win, but in this game, they are actually almost competitive, I would say. So that makes it, a very good and a very cool game, and it's everything here that you need to play. It's definitely a 9 or a 10 out of 10, to be honest. The only thing I would say that sort of brings it down a little bit is, and something I keep harking on about, is push fit minis really need to be genuinely push to fit. I mean, if you are trying to break into the teen market, shall we say, or the tween market, kids between 10 and sort of 14, then they need to be able to push this stuff together themselves without really getting an adult involved. And there's no way to be able to do that with the orcs, because the orcs really don't push fit together. So they really need to do a bit of work on that and do a bit more finessing and testing of that so it actually works, so that each team is as good to push fit together as these humans here, who do push fit together really nicely and well, because the plastic's just a little softer and it makes it a little easier for them to be pushed together. Of course, that does mean the sculpts aren't quite as crisp. If you look at the orcs, the sculpts there are very crisp, because that is, I think that red plastic is pretty much the hardest plastic that Games Workshop have ever used for an injection molded miniature. So that's it. That's my review. I hope you liked it, and look out for it if it ever comes to the UK. It's well worth having, and I would say it's well worth having actually, even if you've got Bloodbowl. It's not going to be that much. It's about $45 in the US, so if ever it does come over here, you'll probably be able to get it for like £30, and that's, you know, well worth it for all the stuff that you get from it, and the rules and the like. It's an excellent little game. So I hope you liked it. If you did, please like, subscribe. I will be doing more. I'll see you next time.